Welcome in, Falcons fans. Your boy Russell is back at it again for more Atlanta Falcons content. The Falcons got close, but close isn't close enough. Falcons lose to the Patriots 24-23 in Foxborough in a game where the Falcons got down early, 21-7. We were getting into a very dangerous place. Oh my God, are we about to get blown out? Defense stepped up in the second half, only allowed the Patriots to score 3 points. Offense, Drake London especially, had a huge game. 3 touchdowns from him. But stuff that has plagued this team under the Raheem Morris era continue to show its ugly head. Parker Romo missing an extra point that would have let the game be tied instead of them being down 1 ultimately was one of the many differences in this game of why they could not win. So we're going to go into all that and give my thoughts on what I saw from guys and the team and et cetera, and go from there. So if you guys enjoy this, definitely subscribe, like the video, leave a comment down below about anything we discuss. Love to hear you guys' feedback on what you guys saw from the game as well. And follow me on Twitter at Bryce_2K if you want to catch up with me there, talk to me there, just keep up with me. I try to live tweet during the game, give my thoughts about different things that are happening. So, but let's go ahead and dive into it. So, listen, like, this season pretty much, and I said this, and I know some of you are going to be like, it's already over. But pretty much, I said if Falcons lose next week to the Colts, their season's over. It's over. The NFC looks very strong this year. You're cooked, right? You're cooked. And you really needed this game. You needed this game. And listen, I think in a game where you knew you had to respond after the last performance you had, I feel like there were units and players who responded. I think the defense had 6 sacks. Pass rush came to play yesterday. Pass rush has had those games this year where they just overwhelm offensive lines and they sack quarterbacks 5-6 times. And the thing is, like I've talked about with that defensive line and that pass rush, is that there's so much young talent there that you can only think that it's going to get better and more consistent. Jalen Walker, the first pick that we had this year in this past draft, had his best game, had a big sack fumble on Drake Maye that was recovered by James Pierce Jr. You had, I think Penix actually played well. I know he had that mistake late that pissed a lot of people off, but 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Like, and then when you look back at some of the film, like outside of a couple of throws, like in terms of just him missed topic of discussion, it's kind of funny that a quarterback who had 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, we're coming back today asking, is he developing good and well enough? Like, and I kind of want to start this entire real breakdown with this, because Drake Maye, let's talk about Drake Maye. Drake Maye was also in the Michael Penix draft class, right? You clearly could see the differences between the two teams. Patriots have a way better operation, way better coaching, way better system, way better. And it's not even, I'm not even saying weapons. I'm just saying everything else outside of the weapons are better than what the Falcons have. The Falcons have better weapons than the Patriots do. But you know why Patriots have been successful is because of all the other things. Coaching, operation. They don't make mistakes to kill themselves. The biggest thing the Patriots are trying to do for Drake Maye is that they know Drake Maye is developing. He's young. He's going to make mistakes. In the second half, he almost in a way cost him the game through a pick, fumbled, strip sack. So like, but at the same time, you also saw some of the flashes of Drake Maye, especially in that first half. Some of the throws he made. He read the field well. And I just want to point that out because you saw the up and downness of Drake Maye. Because he's young. He's developing. He's also first year as a starter for a team. They've tried to play the Drake Maye strengths. And the thing with Penix is we have questioned, does Zach Robinson play to the strengths of this team, to him? You know, we question the operation. We question the coaching. And listen, remember, Penix is also doing this down 3 linemen. We lost both guards yesterday. So we're down 3 linemen plus Caleb McGarry. And no Storm Norton. And with all the stuff he had to deal with, he still gave you 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Yeah, you can say, yeah, he threw some balls that maybe should have been picked. Sure, that's fine. But you just see the operations that are different for both sides and how Penix has really had to overcome things where Drake Maye pretty much has it put in front of him. It's just more about him not messing it up. But at the same time, that's also just because he's growing, he's young, he's developing. Like they always say, y'all are all good with development until a quarterback actually has to develop. Because when you have a guy who's developing, he's going to make mistakes. He's going to struggle. He may have a bad game or two. That's just part of the process. You just want to see him. You want to see him bounce back. You want to see his operation. How does he prepare for the week? How does he try to make sure I don't have that? Last game we saw Michael Penix in, not a good game. This game, he looked better. And listen, he started, and I think the Falcons also tried to do some different things this week. I mean, shoot, we ran an under center run play with a guard pulling. So we can do it. Zach Robinson just don't call it, which obviously we'll get into Zach Robinson. But I just wanted to point that out first because I know Penix, again, is another big topic of discussion because, people are going to have their takes about him. And it's just like, I don't see how you come out of the game yesterday and think Penix was the issue. I think sometimes we want to win so bad that now we just try to find everything to blame and why we don't. And so if he isn't perfect, we just try to say, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. That's why we lost. He's not it. And it's just like, brother. So if I'm a Patriot fan, based off that logic, I should think Drake Maye's trash because he threw a pick and fumbled the ball yesterday. That's what you're basically saying. He was not perfect. He wasn't. They only scored 3 points in the second half. But that's also the Falcons defense making adjustments, making it harder on the Patriots offense. And that's just part of the process for him. Drake has to learn from that. How can we make sure that if we're in that situation again, we don't make that same mistake? You got to let a quarterback grow. Through all the mistakes that Drake maybe has made, and he isn't like a very hot, heavy, mistake-prone guy, but, I mean, he put the ball on the ground 2-3 times yesterday. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think people just sometimes just forget what the process of developing a young quarterback is. And that's why they complain. Because they don't understand, like, that's part of it. Because outside of Drake, I think Drake Maye, isn't he tied or leads the league in touchdown passes? It comes with it. It comes with it. Like, you gotta be able to look at things and be like, and I just mentioned to you earlier, one of the reasons why that is the Patriots have a way better coaching staff, way better operation. They know their identity offensively. They know what they're trying to do. And they're trying to do it every week to help Big Maye come along. Falcons, you see randomness every week. One week we run the football, another week we don't run the football, and it's just inconsistency. And Penix has to overcome that along with offensive line injuries because Falcons injuries are piling up. We're getting to a point where just so many injuries are happening. That in and of itself is one of the major reasons why we can't win these games. But we had a chance to win yesterday. So I won't use that excuse here. But this kind of goes more now into Zach Robinson. So I think, and I've said this about Zach. And obviously, if you watched my episode last week, I was like, brother, can we fire him? Can we get him off my team? Right? But then, like somebody said, you're probably not going to fire him because if you fire him, you fired both of your coordinators if you're Raheem Morris within a year and a half. So you're probably not going to do that. So he'll probably be here, right? But here's the thing. I've said this about Zach. I said Zach has good play calls and good play designs, I think. The issue is him actually calling plays in succession and drives has been a big issue because it just feels like sometimes it's like, what are we doing? Like, what is this play call? And the thing is, they did some different things yesterday that they really haven't done a lot this season, and they found some success off of it. Like, one of the biggest issues I have is the play action game because essentially Penix kind of fake hands off. Like, you can very much tell this man just ain't giving elite play action game, right? Especially when he's in like the pistol and play action off of that. And on one of those plays, I think it was the Kyle Pitts, it actually got the linebacker to hold a little bit, and then he got the Pitts. And it's things like that you're just like, Why weren't you doing it the whole time? We barely saw Charlie Warner yesterday because Charlie Warner has been struggling. And I think that helped because now you don't have Charlie Warner in the backfield. So it's like, all right, well, we're not really worried about Charlie Warner. Now you either have Bijan or somebody back there where it's like, all right, we have to worry about that. Puts more stress on the defense. The defense has to think more. The defense then has to like, okay, we have to account for this. Like he could be a threat, right? So there were some things different operationally that I think that were good, but still wasn't good enough. There were still just times where the offensive playbook and what they were doing was a little more. Kurt Warner said it. You know, he looks at film and he said he basically was like, there are some things Atlanta did that I loved, and there were some things Atlanta did that I hated. And I'm like, what is this? And that has been like the story of the Falcons offense is that they do stuff at times where it's like, this is really good. And then there's stuff they do where you're like, what is this? And that falls on Zach. Zach is just so like inconsistent as an offensive coordinator. I think that's the most frustrating part is I actually think he actually has some good plays that work. And listen, you saw red zone, especially Drake London was feasting yesterday. He had a monster game for the Falcons. The fades in the end zone, things like that. Like good play design to get Drake London the ball and to help him dominate that secondary. Now, I wasn't in love with the fourth down slant because Christian Gonzalez is one of the few corners who isn't going to get bullied by Drake. So I would have liked that to be, hey, if he doesn't win immediately off the line, don't be afraid to go to your second and third read for Penix. And that also could fall on Penix if you won in that situation. But I feel like those plays are kind of like, just throw it to London. He make the play. Right? And so, like, and also, I mean, obviously, I got to talk about Bijan. I know some people kind of mentioned that they think Bijan looked visibly pissed yesterday. Bijan, again, low carries. Bijan Robinson should not have 12 carries. And this is also an issue I have with Zach because I feel like he gets very pass happy. And so then instead of making the defense make you not use him, you basically do the defense a favor by stop using him. And I know we were trailing in the second half, but I feel like you still could run the football at times. And listen, I think this stat is still true. I think with the Falcons run Tyler Algier 10 plus times, they win. Tyler Algier only had 2 carries yesterday. Like when the Falcons are able to just kind of dig into that running game, they're at their best. But like they have barely been able to do it. And I think we know some of the running the same running concepts have been an issue. He did some different things yesterday. And literally the one play I mentioned when they were under center and they ran a dive play essentially with a pulling guard, Bijan, I think, had his longest gain of the day on that play. And you're like, it's stuff like that where it's like, I want Zach to go look at the tape and see that and say, well, we had our best run on that. Maybe I should do more of that. Like, it's just stuff like that, man. That's just really frustrating when you watch it. Because Bijan was involved in the passing game. He had 8 receptions, 50 yards. But, like, still, it just felt like, dude, it feels like we don't use our talent enough. Mooney basically has not been in the part of the offense. And somebody made a good point. Somebody said some of the stuff we were doing last year, and it's funny because, again, it feels like what he was doing last year is better than what he's doing this year. But people talk about how the way we used Mooney last year, and he's like, I don't think we're using Mooney the same this year. And that's hurting Mooney a lot. And now it just makes it like Mooney's a trash receiver because we're not using him like that. Like he's barely getting targeted in these games. Where Mooney was actually a very vital part and a very vital target of the offense last year. Even in the last 3 games, Penix went to Mooney. But he's not going to Mooney now. And obviously, you know, I know he missed the majority of camp. I know he had injuries, and I know that impacted him. But I'm like, dude, like we are barely giving Mooney opportunity. And listen, Mooney has not been the best either. I'm not going to sit here and make it seem like this is all on the offense, Penix, and Mooney could be better too. But I mean, essentially, our offense is we throw it essentially to 3 people: Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson. We don't throw it to David Steele. David Steele gets cardio every week. That boy he had 1 target this past game. That boy barely gets targeted. Like, David Steele's getting the cardio. And I'm like, is it that he's not getting open? Is it that like honestly, a part of me makes me think that like Zach is literally not, and I'm not saying you're drawing up plays for David Stills. Sills. But, like, brother, that man ain't done nothing. Like, Casey Washington at least gets thrown at when he's playing. Davis Dale come out there, boy. We barely ever throw the ball at him. And I'm like, he was good in camp. But I don't know what that's about. Like, there's been like a lot of different theories that Zach just does not go to the middle of the field. Because like somebody looked at Drake London's wide receiver chart, or his route chart, and he had no routes that went to the middle of the field. None. And they're like, I mean, he had a crossing route, but like it just feels like we just spam our best players, which I get it. They're our best players. We should definitely use them and make them a priority of the game plan. But it's funny. It's funny the parallels between him and Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith would use the third tight end, that fourth receiver. He would draw up stuff for those guys, right? And we would hate that. Zach goes to those guys, but then it's like he don't use anybody else. And so, like, pretty much defense, no. Look at Pitts, look at London, look at Bijan. That's all you got to worry about. And Mooney from time to time. Outside that, third, fourth receiver, who cares? Because they never go in their direction. So who cares? And like, it's just, listen, there were some better things offensively that they did. Like I said, better things they did offensively. But still just, listen, at the end of the day, Penix gave him a chance to win. Clutch gene, everything, right? Romo missed a kick. I think he should be cut. You have a kicker on the practice squad you've been saving. Time to put him in. You missing extra points, Romo. You're missing extra. And the thing is, you're missing kicks that are like game-changing kicks. Like, it's not like this is the first kick of the game, and then you make the next three. You're missing the biggest kick of the game. Because now, if I'm Raheem Morris, my question was on the drive before the last drive they had, if you got in the field goal range, how confident would you be in Parker Romo after he just missed the extra point in the previous drive? How confident would you be to people watching this? You'd be a little like scared, like if we don't score a touchdown, I don't know, Chief. And that's a problem. So, like I said, there was definitely a bunch of issues yesterday that still reared its head, but there were some positives. There were some good things. It's just the fact that it's becoming too late. And I think that's the problem. It always feels like the Falcons figured out when it's too late. They can never figure it out when they need to. And so, I mean, you got to wake up and watch these boys next week at 9:30 a.m. in the morning, Eastern time. I may be asleep. I may be waking up and then having to watch the read highlights, guys. So, but big game from Drake London. Want to give credit to him. Balled out, number one receiver type stuff. Did what he needed to do. And Penix 3 touchdowns, no picks. Like, I mean, I'm not going to be mad about my quarterback throwing 3 touchdowns and 0 picks, bro. If we're getting mad about that, then okay. But now let's go back to the defensive side of the ball. And so defense. So overall this game, first half, they struggle, especially in the passing. I think run defense was a little shaky, but I think it was okay. I think they were getting dashed a little bit in the passing game, they lost, I think, was it Booty or whatever his name is? They lost Booty that game. They lost him to a hamstring injury. But like, I mean, overall, I think the defense had struggles in the first half. But again, I think Jeff Ulbrich kind of tightened it up in the second half. They were able to get after them in the first half, but the problem is they were letting up too many third down and longs and things like that, and that was really frustrating to watch because, the Falcons defense could have had even a better game if they were to stop those. But overall, I think the response in the second half, and again, it's one of those things where it's that thing you think about where it's like, man, if they fire Raheem, Jeff probably leaves. And it's like, again, you get a defensive coordinator who has the defense playing respectable, good defense. And then if he gets fired, more than likely he's gone, and then you're going to have another defensive coordinator for this team. It's like, dang, because like I think Jeff literally has done well with what he has. One of the reasons why we struggle also in the running game is we don't have that big defensive tackle. They've just tried to, hey, look, Hell London, put some weight on. Sam Roberts has been a nice surprise. He has played well in the games he's played. But, like, they just still don't have that guy. They need a Villa like Tampa Bay has. And they never went to address it this offseason, which you can look at as a mistake. But, I mean, with that, you're just working with what you have. I know they've tried to, when it comes to the running game, try to adjust with these 5-2 fronts to just try to see if that can make a difference for them. Plus, I think that also has been big for them in the passing game as well. And getting pressure. But I think overall, I think defensively, I think the first half, you struggled. They were able to get some big plays. They were able to, do some stuff to you in the secondary. Jesse Bates finally had his first interception of the year. I know a lot of people felt like Jesse Bates had another bad game yesterday outside of that. A lot of people are thinking that this needs to be the last year of Jesse Bates. We'll see what the Falcons think. I know Jesse is – and I also think because Jesse's not making those game-changing plays like he had the last 2 years, I think that's contributing to it. And then people are like, well, Xavier Watts is ready. We can just have him go over. And then people are probably thinking maybe you move DeMarco Hellams to the other safety, and then you just got to find new backup safeties. And you just roll with that. But, I think, Jalen Walker, like I mentioned earlier, had his best game. I mean, I watched some of the reps he had. I mean, he was winning a lot of his matchups. Like I don't know how much that groin has been impacting him when he played. Because obviously it's not something that's gone away. It's just something he's been able to play through. But he looked like a different guy against New England. And he went against Will Campbell, their rookie. And he looked like a different player. It's almost like he's healthier because he was able to sit those weeks out. And it showed. And it's funny because I think I saw a stat before I came on here that said that he leads all rookies in pressure rate. And then third is James Pierce Jr., which I know a lot of people are like, some people are saying James Pierce is a bust because he ain't sacking him 10 times. People say, I mean, literally the rookie class last year, the top sack guy had 4 sacks. Like, biggest thing you want to see is he's able to generate constant pressure, and then you would think with development growth over time, he will eventually get more sacks. I think some people want it now because they look at the fact that we traded a first-round pick for him and think, okay, well, if we're not getting it now, then who cares about what he is in 2 years? We lost the pick, so we need it now. Like, you have people who think like that. I think everybody knows that those 2 guys are going to be the future of the pass rush for this team, and you see flashes of it. And you're excited for it. That is a building block that you are excited for the Falcons in the next couple of years. And so I think, it's just great to see. And Brandon Dorlus was great. He was very active. Rukaroro was active yesterday. Like, I mean, the young guys have stepped up this year. The big question was the young guys. And I think for the most part, at least from that perspective of the defense, we all feel pretty good about the young guys in the front. We think we got some dogs. But you really would hate if they have to fire the staff because Nate Ollie and Jeff Ulbrich was able to get this out of them. Will the next staff be able to do this? Because we've seen you can have Jimmy Lake and then it makes all of them worse and trash, or they don't hit the field, or you could get a guy like Jeff Ulbrich and Nate Ali, and you see what they give you. So it's just one of those things where it's like you are almost like, dang, I hope if we do make any coaching changes, if that is something they decide to do this season, and they don't keep Raheem, you're like, please God, please be able to keep us moving forward as a defense, right? Linebacker play again. We saw a lot of Ronnie Harrison yesterday. And I think Ronnie had, obviously, for playing first time really all year, like a lot of snaps. I think he did an admirable job. I don't think he was bad. I don't think he was great. I think it's more of just his first time he's really playing. So, like, he's probably finding himself out there. But I think he was definitely playable. Like, he was a guy who's like, okay, he can hold up a little bit. J.D. Bertrand got his snaps cut, and still, in those limited snaps, he got cooked. Like, I think with Hunter Henry, Texas route, cooked him. Of course, last play of the game, they need to get a first down. Could have been OPI. But who did they go after? J.D. Bertrand. They had Ronnie Harrison in the first 2 downs of that drive. Took him out. I said, what are we doing? Like, I know they probably don't want to, like, put all the snaps on Ronnie. Brother, play Josh Woods. I'd rather see Josh Woods at this point. J.D. Bertrand is – Raheem talk about quick solutions. J.D. Bertrand – what if J.D. Bertrand has made plays, you could justify him being on the field. Has J.D. Bertrand made a play since he's played in these last 3 games. Has he made one play? I don't think he has. I don't like calling for people's jobs, but I think we at least agree that J.D. Bertrand should not hit the field. I think everybody who's watching this agrees with that. He should not hit the field. He's been bad. There's no other way around it. Like, we need to go heavy Ronnie Harris and Josh Woods next week. Like, we do not need to be going no J.D. Bertrand. Keep that boy on special teams. Like, because teams are just going to attack him every week. Like, literally, they going to stick – the offensive coordinator going to be – look, if he's in the booth or the skybox, he can look up and be like, J.D. Bertrand on the field, what play I got? What we want to attack with a tight end, a receiver, running back? What we want to do? We don't get a first down either way. I just want to know which ones y'all want. That's literally what they're probably saying up there. He got to get off the field, bro. Like, he is bad. He is bad, bro. JD, you cooked. Listen, it's funny. They asked about Troy Anderson earlier this week. They asked Raheem, what's up with Troy? And he was like, well, he's not really close to where we need to talk about it. I always go back to what Raheem said at the beginning of the year. He said he may be out a few weeks. He may be out the whole year. What the heck? And we are still now this deep into the season, and Troy Anderson's not close. Troy Anderson's last year in Atlanta is clearly this year. He ain't coming back next year because of health. But, like, what is going on with this man where the fact that you can't even give us a timetable of when he could come back. Like, I get that you may not be able to say exactly when, but, like, tell me, hey, we're going to reevaluate him in a few more weeks or something. Because it was mysterious because we thought he was going to play in training camp. Didn't. Okay, well, he'll be back for regular season, right? Hasn't. Okay, I guess he's not healthy. There's just certain things we do, bro, as an organization that are just very questionable, and you just very sit there and say, what are we doing, bro? And that's one of them, the injury stuff. So, overall, like I said, we got close, but it wasn't good enough. You got to win games. And you had key mistakes. Penix made a mistake. Parker almost missed an extra point. Like, the same stuff, bro, that you had. Reared this ugly head again. And you lost. Now you're going against a Colts team who just lost. But now you also are playing the best running back you've played and probably the best running game you're going to play this year. Outside of the Panthers. Scared. I'm scared. Listen, key to the game, if you can contain Jonathan Taylor, you'll take your chances with Daniel Jones. You'll take your chances with it. If you can't, game's cooked. So, we'll have to see, man. Obviously, disappointing result. Season's basically on by a thread. I know some of you are going to say it's over already. Biggest thing, though, you want to prioritize at this point, developing Michael Penix, trying to make sure that all their star guys are happy, and just trying to maintain. And then we'll see how the season ends, and we'll see what Arthur Blank decides to do. And we'll go from there. So, I think that's about it for me. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment down below about anything we discussed. Follow me on Twitter at BryceC_2K. And, yeah, I think that's it for me, guys. See you next time.